All right, in this video, we're going to work on our player hand. So, the first thing I'm going to do actually is I am going to go into our game board and make one minor modification. And that is when we subscribe to our can select card and set the state to op select card, I also want to reset our is hand open to op select card can. And what that'll do is if op select card can turns into true, it'll force our hand to open. If it turns into false, it'll force our hand to automatically close. So that way, like if you're going to be playing a card, it'll automatically open. The moment you play a card and your stack is finished, then it'll close automatically. So let's go ahead and start off with our jumping into our player hand.js, and let's get this guy implemented. He's actually not a whole lot of markup, really. We're going to go ahead and return a div with the class name of, and I'm going to open up curlies and a template string. I'm going to say c-player-hand, then I'm going to say is open, question mark is-open, otherwise is closed. Then inside of this, I'm going to do a div class name equals, and I'm going to also open this up into a template string. And this is where the divider is going to be. It's where the where you'll click in order to open or close your hand. And we'll call this title. And then I'm going to say op select card dot can, and I'll say is dash active, otherwise empty. And then I'll say on click equals toggle. So when we click this guy, he'll be toggled. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back. I'm going to back up and create an intermediary variable. I'm going to say const caret class equals is open question mark fa caret down ferret ferret down otherwise no fa caret down. I can spell good. Otherwise fa caret up. So we're using font awesome to do an up arrow or a down arrow depending on if the if you're open. Then I'm going to say I class name equals, then I'm going to open up a template string again, fa space, and then caret class. And then inside, I'm going to put op select card error, and then outside, I'm going to just copy in that caret class. So we'll get two carets, and then sandwiched in between will be an error if there is an error, which there shouldn't really be ever, but if something goes wrong, then we'll see that. Then I'm going to say div class name equals cards, and this is going to be the entirety of the hand. We're simply going to say hand.map card goes into, and we'll reference the card component. The key is card ID. The is selectable equals op select card can and not op select card dot in progress. The on click is, not surprisingly, simply select card. The type is white. Actually, for the on click equals select card, let's see here. I actually want to turn this into an anonymous function that invokes select card, but passing in the card that we're actually going to select. Otherwise, well, it'll just select whatever, and we don't want that. The type will be white, the card will be card, and the style will be small, and the can zoom will be true. Here's a cool React tip that you might not be aware of. If you have a Boolean property, or if you have any property, and you just specify the property name, React will set it to true. So we don't need to say can zoom or equals true. We can just say can zoom. And with that, that's it for the player hand. We just need to style it. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like before we do that. So I'm going to exit out here. And now, as you can see, we now have our hand. And if I click on this, this up and down arrow, you'll notice they switch between up and down depending on if they're open or not because of the toggle function. But obviously, this isn't going to work out very well, unfortunately. It doesn't. We need to style it a bit. So let's jump over into our player hand SCSS. And let's get this implemented. Let's get this guy done. So we're going to say import back variables. Then we're going to say C player hand. He's going to have a position of absolute, not absolute value, but the word absolute. He's It's going to have a width of 100, a bottom of 0, a z-index of 100, a border bottom of 2px solid color section border, and a background of color background. So it doesn't seem like that really had much of an effect on anything quite yet. Actually, it had an effect of me misspelling variables. I swear I can spell good. Okay, now it has the effect of it being positioned on the bottom and being pushed up. So now I can't even see the top unless I scroll back over. So now I can see the top. But let's just finish styling this real fast. Let's style the title. The title, I'm going to import divider. And I'm going to give it a cursor, a pointer, include divider. The border bottom left radius will be 0. The border bottom right radius will be 0. And then I'm going to say and hover. It's going to have a background of lighten, color primary 5%. So now when I hover over this, it will it'll change that color. So now what I want to do is I want to say is dash closed C or just cards display none. So by doing this, I can now toggle it open and closed. As you can see, like that. Now, for the cards themselves. Inside cards, I'm going to give them a box sizing of border box, a border of 2px solid color section border, a border top of none, a flex grow of 1, a display of flex, a flex wrap of wrap, a padding of 5, and a height of auto. And then for each C-card inside of our hand, I'm going to give them a margin of 5 pixels. So now it looks like this. So that seems pretty good. Obviously, it does run off the screen. And again, you might want to be able to... I know I'm such a low resolution right now. There are a variety of different ways that you might want to condense this a little bit. But for now, we'll just leave it as it is. So that's actually it for the client. Let's go ahead and test one more thing. So take one last look at player hand. And take a last look at the component itself. And then let's jump into our store, into our game store. And I'm going to set me to be playing, which I have already done. And I'm going to set the step to step choose whites. And now when I reload, the hand is automatically up already. It's automatically up, and it's constantly blue like this. In addition, I can now click on these cards. And if I open up my console, I see it says game select card, game ID 42, card ID 10, card ID 11, card ID 7, and so on. So the actions are appropriately being dispatched. We could potentially do one more thing. And that is, I need to drag this off to a different monitor to properly do this. I'm going to get the width of, or the height of the hand when it's open and it has 2 stacks. It's 304 pixels. What I'm going to do with the player hand is inside of cards, I'm actually going to go ahead and say, instead of height auto, I'm going to say max height is going to be 310 pixels, and I'm going to set the overflow Y to auto. And what that should do, hopefully, I don't know if that worked or not, if I come back over here and I shrink this, check that out. Now we can properly see this. Just at that particular resolution. But if you're playing it any lower than this resolution on a desktop, then I highly recommend purchasing a new monitor. Or if this thing really concerns you, then there's more CSS tricks that you can do in order to get this to display even better. But this video series is not about CSS, despite all the CSS that we have managed to end up writing in this course. But with that, that is the client. There's no more React code that we need to write. The only thing we have left to do is write the server. And all the server is going to do is it's going to interface with our stores through a socket.io connection, which will dispatch through our action dispatcher and modify or change the different states of what's going on with these views. But the views, it's important to understand, the views are dumb. The views are very, very dumb. They don't have much logic, or if any logic, inside of them. All they do is exactly what they're told by the stores, and that's it. And so as a result, the view, thinking about and reasoning about the view, becomes a very, very easy thing to do, and allows us to write very clean, very simple code without having to weigh it down with a bunch of additional logic and other stuff. And that's what React really allows us to do. It allows us to just say, I want this rendered like this. And then React will go out and it'll mediate between your intent and the actual physical DOM. But I think that's it. It's time to build the server. We'll see you guys then.